Imagine standing at a crossroads after a storm. You're not just, seeing the damage, but maybe glimpsing a path towards something stronger, something more profound than before.
It's a really powerful image.
We all face adversity, right? Those hard knocks life throws at us. But what if those challenges, what if they aren't just obstacles? What if they're actually catalysts for incredible transformative growth?
That's a fundamental shift in perspective, isn't it? This idea that we don't just bounce back from the toughest moments, but we can actually bounce forward.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. Resilience after trauma, finding strength and hope in the healing process. Our sources suggest healing isn't just about getting back to normal.
No, it's often a much richer, more fascinating journey, one that can lead to being, even stronger than you were before. It's an active process, this transformative growth.
So our mission today, we're going to unpack some insights. We've got psychological research, neurobiology, practical tools.
Right. We want to help you understand what resilience and this idea of post-traumatic growth really mean, and crucially, how you can start to cultivate them in your own life. You might find some surprising facts and definitely some actionable strategies.
Okay, so to really get this journey of growth, we first need to understand the terrain, the reality of trauma itself. And honestly, it might surprise you just how common these experiences are.
The numbers are quite striking. Somewhere between, say, 60% and 75% of people in North America experience a traumatic event during their lifetime.
Wow, 60 to 75%.
Yeah, it's not just a statistic. It tells us trauma is, a pretty widespread part of the human experience for most of us, which really underlines why understanding this healing path is so vital.
And we were talking about things like serious accidents, assaults, maybe ongoing abuse.
Exactly. Common forms, but deeply impactful events. They can fundamentally change how we see ourselves, how we see the world around us.
And that impact, it can be really profound, often leading to something like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. What does that actually look like for someone, symptom-wise?
Well, PTSD is incredibly complex. It usually shows up in 4 main groups of symptoms. First, you have intrusions, things like unwanted memories, flashbacks. They feel incredibly real.
Like you're reliving it.
Precisely. And they can be triggered by things that seem minor. Second, there's avoidance. People actively try to steer clear of anything that reminds them of the trauma places, people, even certain thoughts or feelings.
Makes sense, trying to avoid the pain.
Understandable, but it can shrink your world. Third, we see negative changes in thoughts and mood. This could be, a really altered view of yourself or the world, often leading to heavy feelings like self-blame or shame or guilt.
That sounds incredibly heavy.
It is. And finally, there's heightened arousal, like being hyper-vigilant, constantly on edge, easily startled. And it's important to mention there's also a specific subtype, the dissociative subtype.
Dissociative, what does that mean?
It's where people might feel detached from their own body. That's called depersonalization, or they feel detached from reality itself, which we call derealization, like watching yourself from the outside or feeling like the world isn't quite real.
Gosh, that all sounds incredibly debilitating. So with symptoms this widespread and profound, how effective are, the traditional treatments?
That's a really important question. So the standard first-line treatments for PTSD, things like prolonged exposure therapy, PE, or cognitive processing therapy, CPT, they are effective for many people.
Okay, so they do work for some.
Yes, absolutely. But they aren't a universal fix. The research shows a pretty substantial percentage of patients, maybe 60 to 72%, still meet the criteria for PTSD even after treatment.
60 to 72% still have the diagnosis. Wow.
Yeah. And dropout rates, attrition, can be quite high too, around 35 to 40%. So this really highlights, an urgent need for other options. Alternative or complementary approaches.
That's such a critical point. If the standard ways aren't working for everyone, we absolutely need to explore other paths. And this, I think, is where mindfulness comes in. It's often described as present-centered.
Exactly. Mindfulness enters the picture as a really promising alternative. And what's fascinating is its core idea, encouraging this non-judgmental acceptance of thoughts and emotions just as they happen, right here, in the present moment.
Non-judgmental acceptance. So it's not about emptying your mind.
Not at all. That's a common misconception. It's really about changing your relationship with your thoughts and feelings, observing them without getting swept away.
That difference, observing versus suppressing, feels really key. If someone's new to this, what's the core definition, the real aha moment?
A really powerful way to put it is the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment by moment.
Paying attention on purpose, non-judgmentally.
Right, it's cultivating a specific kind of awareness. And that radically shifts how you engage with everything, internal and external. It lets you observe your experience without being totally overwhelmed by it.
Okay, so how does this present moment, non-judgmental thing actually help with those tough PTSD symptoms we talked about? Avoidance, negative thoughts.
It works in several key ways. First, that non-judgmental acceptance directly tackles avoidance. It helps people learn to face the thoughts and feelings they'd normally try to run from.
So you lean in instead of away.
In a sense, yes,
Yeah.
gently. Second, it helps manage those negative thoughts, the cognitions. It teaches you to see thoughts as thoughts, not necessarily as facts, which can hugely reduce feelings like self-blame or shame.
Thoughts are not facts. That's powerful.
It really is. And for dissociation, remember that feeling of detachment. Mindfulness helps foster a connection to yourself, to the present moment. It's the direct opposite of that feeling of disconnection.
That sounds incredibly impactful, like a fundamental shift inside. If listeners are thinking, okay, how do I do this? What are the different ways mindfulness is actually practiced?
Oh, there's quite a range, actually. A whole toolkit of effective mindfulness-based treatments, which shows how versatile it is. You've got structured programs like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT.
Right. Those often involve meditation, maybe some group discussion.
Yes, and gentle movement like yoga sometimes. Then there are practices focused more on emotion, like meta-mindfulness, or loving-kindness meditation, which cultivates compassion. And even things like mantra repetition practice, MRP, or mindfulness-based exposure therapy, MBET, different paths to that same core awareness.
You mentioned that it helps with existing symptoms, but what about before trauma happens? Does the research say anything about mindfulness as like a protective shield?
That's another fascinating area. Research does suggest that having mindful tendencies before a traumatic event can act as a significant protective factor.
How so?
Well, it seems to promote acceptance of those initial reactions after the trauma. It reduces avoidance, that re-experiencing the hyperarousal, so it might actually help prevent the full PTSD picture from developing. It's strongly linked to less negative emotion and less rumination, less getting stuck in those loops.
So it's like building up an inner resource beforehand.
You could think of it that way, yes, like strengthening an inner muscle before the storm hits.
Okay, this next part really interests me. How does this actually change our brains? What's the neurobiology telling us about how mindfulness literally helps healing?
Ah, yes, this is where it gets really compelling. We know trauma can disrupt how the brain manages emotions. It can lead to what we call undermodulation, basically, overreactivity, hyperarousal.
Too much gas pedal.
Right. Or it can lead to overmodulation, which is more like numbness, detachment, too much break. Mindfulness interventions seem to help restore that balance.
Why is happening in the brain?
They appear to increase activity in brain regions crucial for executive control and regulating emotion, like the prefrontal cortex. And at the same time, they reduce activity in areas linked to fear and strong emotional reactions, particularly the amygdala.
So it's kind of like retuning the brain's emotional control center, bringing it back into harmony.
That's a great way to put it. It helps normalize the communication, the connectivity within key brain networks. You have the default mode network involved in thinking about ourselves, the salience network, which spots threats, and the central executive network for focus. Mindfulness helps these networks talk to each other more effectively.
Wow.
And there's even evidence suggesting it might help normalize stress hormones like cortisol and reduce inflammation markers. It seems to have a really holistic impact, body and mind.
That's incredible. It sounds almost like a magic bullet. So what's the catch? Is there a caveat? Is mindfulness always the right approach for everyone?
That's a very important clarification. While it's powerful, mindfulness isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's crucial to acknowledge that. For some people, especially those with very severe symptoms or maybe a history of significant abuse, certain practices could actually be triggering.
Like a body scan, maybe.
Yeah.
Bringing attention to the body might be difficult.
Exactly. For some, that intense focus inward could inadvertently increase distress. So a cautious, personalized approach is essential. Always, always with professional guidance if you're dealing with significant trauma. The goal is healing, not accidentally causing more harm.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so we've navigated the immediate challenges, maybe started healing with tools like mindfulness. Is the goal just getting back to where we were before, back to normal? Or is there something more?
This is where the conversation shifts, I think, in a really hopeful direction. We move beyond just bouncing back. We start talking about bouncing forward. This is the idea of post-traumatic growth, or PTG.
Post-traumatic growth, PTG.
Yes, a term coined by psychologists Lawrence Calhoun and Richard Tedeschi. It describes this profound psychological change where people don't just cope with trauma, they actually find new strength. They develop, they thrive in new ways. It's about emerging from it all with, well, a greater measure than before, more whole, perhaps more integrated.
Bouncing forward. I really like that. It's not about pretending the pain didn't happen, but transforming it somehow. Where do we actually see this growth? What does it look like in someone's life?
PTG tends to show up in 5 main areas or domains. First is personal strength. People often feel a deeper sense of capability, of resilience than they ever did before.
Like, I got through that. I can handle anything.
Something like that, yes. Second, new possibilities in life. It's like your old map of the world gets torn up by the trauma, but surprisingly, you find you can draw a new one, maybe even a better, more fulfilling one, seeing opportunities you didn't see before.
That's amazing. What else?
Third, stronger relationships. Adversity often clarifies who's really there for you. It can lead to deeper connections, more intimacy, a greater appreciation for loved ones. Fourth is a real appreciation of life. Often a newfound gratitude for life itself, sometimes in very simple, everyday ways. Seeing beauty you might have overlooked.
And the fifth?
The fifth is spiritual change. This could mean finding a deeper sense of meaning or purpose, or maybe developing a stronger connection to something larger than oneself, whatever that means for the individual.
That paints a really beautiful picture of transformation, but it doesn't sound passive.
Does mindset play a big role here? Is it something you have to actively work towards?
Oh, absolutely paramount. PTG isn't something that just happens to you. It requires conscious effort. An active, often positive mindset is key. People who actively approach the challenges, who are open to learning from them, they tend to experience greater growth.
So being open to change is critical. Yes, it allows you to see those new possibilities, that hope for the future. It kind of loosens the grip that the tough situation might have. It's about asking yourself, maybe, okay, what can I learn here? Am I open to the lessons this experience might offer?
Does this kind of growth only happen for adults? Or can kids experience it too?
Both adults and children can definitely experience PTG. With children, though, it often really requires strong support from adults. And they might express it differently, New possibilities might mean within their existing friendships or doing better at school.
But the potential is there for them too.
Absolutely. And encouragement, that positive support, it actually accelerates neurodevelopment after trauma for any age. It literally helps the brain grow and change, impacting daily functioning.
Okay, so mindfulness can transform our inner world, even change our brains. PTG shows we can grow beyond trauma. But what about our connections, the people around us? Let's shift gears and talk about social support. It's often called the unsung hero, right? But it seems complicated.
It truly is vital, but yes, definitely complex. Social support is a major protective factor after trauma. But here's the key thing. It's not just about how many people you know, it's the quality of that support, and crucially, whether you perceive it as helpful. That matters much more.
And it's not just about what others do for us, is it? I think our sources mentioned an integrated model.
That's right. Healing really involves this dynamic dance between intrapersonal coping, that's your internal stuff, your strategies, your beliefs about yourself and the world, and interpersonal coping, which includes external resources like social support and how your relationships work.
So they influence each other.
Inextricably linked. Your inner work gets bolstered by good connections, and strong inner resources help you navigate relationships better. They constantly shape each other.
So what does good support look like? The kind that really elevates you?
Well, it can take many forms. Friends, family, mentors. They can offer encouragement. They can help you use the coping skills you already have, or maybe help you develop new ones.
Just cheering you on.
Yes, but also practical help. Modeling is powerful too. Seeing other people who've navigated similar situations successfully can be incredibly validating and instructive. Shared processing, just being able to talk openly and make sense of the event with someone trusted, that's huge for meaning making.
And peer support. Someone who's been there.
Ah, yes. That can have a special kind of credibility, can't it? Someone who genuinely gets it because they've lived through something similar. That can be uniquely impactful.
Okay, that all sounds incredibly positive. But
Mm-hmm.
we know it's not always like that. What happens when support goes wrong? Because sometimes even people with good intentions can be unhelpful, right?
Exactly. This is where the complexity really shows up. Unfortunately, trauma itself can lead people to withdraw or maybe become more irritable, which naturally strains relationships.
Pushing people away when you need them most.
It's a difficult cycle. Then you have outright harmful interactions. Things like criticism, blaming comments. Those can just reinforce feelings of shame or guilt. But perhaps the trickiest is what we call precarious support.
Precarious support. What falls under that?
Think about co-rumination, where you and someone else just dwell on the problems, hashing over the negative feelings endlessly, without ever moving towards solutions or coping.
Just getting stuck in the mud together.
Pretty much. Or think about over-accommodation, where others constantly step in and solve your problems for you. It might feel helpful in the moment, but long-term, it can undermine your own sense of agency, your ability to cope independently. It can create dependency.
So the helpful kind of processing is different.
Yes, the critical difference is moving towards mutual cognitive processing, working together to make meaning, to reframe, to find ways forward, versus just rehashing the pain without progress.
That makes sense. And what if, say, two people went through the same trauma together? Can that make supporting each other harder?
It definitely can. If both individuals are struggling significantly with their own trauma responses, it can be incredibly challenging for them to provide effective support to each other. Sometimes it can even lead to mutual avoidance or maybe reinforcing unhealthy coping patterns because they're both just trying to manage their own pain.
So the big takeaway here seems to be that support isn't just support. The timing matters. The type of support matters.
Yeah.
It's really nuanced.
Precisely. Right after a trauma, practical help, shelter, food, safety, that's often crucial. But longer term, the most helpful support is usually the kind that empowers you. Support that helps you strengthen your own coping skills, encourages your self-discovery, rather than keeping you dependent or stuck. It should build you up.
Okay, so it really sounds like resilience isn't just this fixed thing you either have or you don't. It's more like a skill, something you can build, like going to the gym for your mind.
That's a perfect analogy. Resilience is absolutely a skill. It's something anyone can develop and strengthen with consistent practice. It involves specific ways of thinking, specific behaviors that can be learned and honed over time. It allows you to adapt, maybe even thrive, despite adversity.
So for our listeners who want to actively cultivate this, build that resilience muscle.
Yeah.
What's in the toolkit? What are the key pillars we should focus on?
Our sources point to 4 main pillars, sort of like cornerstones for building resilience. First, and we just touched on this, nurture emotional connections. This is huge. Actively seek out and accept support from people you trust.
Don't isolate.
Exactly. Call a friend, grab that coffee, maybe look into a support group. Connect with people who genuinely get you and offer healthy support. Resist that urge to pull away.
That makes so much sense, even though it can feel hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, pillar number 1, connection. What's number 2?
Number 2 is practice consistent self-care, and this is foundational. It's about intentionally giving your body and mind the resources they need to manage stress effectively, not just numb it out.
Manage, not numb.
Okay. So it means asking yourself honestly, is this behavior actually helping me cope long-term, or is it maybe harming me? And then choosing activities that genuinely recharge you. Things like cooking a healthy meal, prioritizing sleep, spending time in nature, maybe setting limits on screen time, even just taking a long bath. It's about designing a personalized plan that works for you.
Right. What actually refills your tank?
Yeah.
Okay, connection, self-care. What's the third pillar? It sounds like it focuses more inward.
Yes, number 3 is embrace healthy thoughts with self-compassion. Your mindset, how you talk to yourself, it holds immense power. Instead of falling into harsh self-criticism, which is so easy to do after trauma.
Yeah, the should-haves.
Exactly. Instead, try treating yourself with the same kindness, the same understanding you'd offer to a dear friend going through the same thing. Recognize that pain and the struggle to recover. That's part of being human. It's not some personal failing.
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself. Practice mindfulness around those critical thoughts. Notice them, and then deliberately, intentionally replace them with more compassionate ones. Focus on what you can influence and try to practice letting go of what you truly can't control.
Connection, self-care, self-compassion. And the final pillar, sounds like a big one.
The 4th pillar is find meaning and purpose. This involves looking for opportunities for growth, for learning, even within the difficult experiences, reflecting on maybe how your journey, your insights, could potentially help others.
Turning pain into purpose.
In a way, yes. Maybe volunteering or starting something positive based on what you've learned, feeling like you're making a tangible contribution, having an impact that can profoundly shift your perception of hardship. It can transform it into a source of strength and empowerment. Our sources even mention practical exercises, like one called Doors Closed, Doors Open.
What's that?
It helps you reflect. Acknowledge the doors that might have closed because of the trauma, yes, but then actively look for the new doors that have opened or could open as a result. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're actionable steps you can take.
Wow. So we've covered a lot, this incredible journey from, just surviving trauma to not just recovering, but actually thriving through resilience and this idea of post-traumatic growth.
Yeah, we've seen how something like mindfulness can literally reshape our brain, change our experience from the inside out. How actively engaging, having that positive mindset can pave the way for completely new possibilities in life.
And how absolutely vital social support is, but also how nuanced it needs to be. It's not just any support.
That's right. If we pull it all together, the key lessons seem pretty clear. The path to resilience after trauma, it's about active engagement. You have to engage with your healing. It's about embracing mindful presence, intentionally building that self-compassion muscle.
Leveraging those genuine social connections.
Exactly. And finding meaning, finding purpose within your experiences. It's really about recognizing that your past, no matter how difficult, it doesn't have to define your future. That real strength can be forged in the fires of adversity.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you reflect on all this, consider, what's one small, intentional step you could take? Maybe starting today.
It could be anything, really. Nurturing one relationship, practicing one small act of self-care, maybe just noticing and reframing one self-critical thought.
Or exploring something that gives you a sense of purpose, something to foster your own resilience, or perhaps to support someone else on their journey. The power to grow, it seems, truly lies both within us and all around us.